Good morning. Hello, everyone. It's so good to be here today. It's 8 a.m. and I go live on Wednesdays at 8 a.m. to answer questions from my clients and students and really just go over living your best alcohol-free life. And I have such a good question today because I really want to talk about this topic. It's emotional self-regulation. Emotional self-regulation, you might be like scratching your head a little bit, like, what is that? And let me explain that and why it's so important, and why it's so important when it comes to changing your relationship with alcohol. So when you look, I'm kind of a nerd. I love history. I love anthropology. I love really learning a lot of different just facts about biology, you name it. And when you look really back into the evolution of human history, our brain has formed over like millions of eons of years, and we basically evolved based from these little amoebas into what we are today. And at each stage of evolution, our brain got bigger and bigger, right? And so there's parts of our brain that still hold these old core parts of our brain called the primal brain here in the brainstem that are literally the same brain that a reptile has, for example, you know? And then we have our mammalian brain, which is the same brain that any other mammal has on this planet. And then obviously we have our human brain with our prefrontal cortex here, our neurofrontal cortex. So our brain has evolved for a long time, and we've also evolved as a species from literally just surviving to this day in the modern era of really having a choice to thrive, to really having a choice to design your life for you, not just worried about where your next meal is coming from or running away from a saber-toothed tiger. But the thing that to remember is our brain wasn't actually designed to be happy. Our brain was designed to literally look out all the time for possible threats. All the time our brain is scanning our environment to make sure that we survive. And what that means is that our brain actually has this predisposition to have very negative thoughts. Negative thoughts because it's constantly worrying, it's constantly doubting, it's constantly afraid, it's constantly just looking out for something that could go wrong. That is literally what our brain was evolved to do, because back in the day, we needed that to survive. We needed that to look out for danger. We needed that to make sure that we have enough security to survive the winter or whatever season it was. You know, nowadays we still have this need for psychological safety, and yet our psychological safety needs are being met. You know, for the most part, most people have enough food to eat. Most people have a shelter. Most people have a bed, right? These kinds of things are taken care of, and yet still our instinctual brain is always looking for psychological safety, even in other situations. All right, let me pause right there, say hello. If we haven't met yet before, my name is Karolina Jodkowolska. I'm an alcohol-free life coach and also the author of the book Euphoric, Ditch Alcohol and Get a Happier, More Confident You. Came out on bookshelves in January. I'd love to hear from you if you're reading it. And if you've read it and you liked it, if you could leave a review on Amazon, that would blow my mind. I would just be so appreciative of you. All right, I love the study of personal growth. I love the study of psychology, and I love really helping women self-discover themselves away from a fermented beverage and find out what their true desires are for life. And so I talk a lot about obviously changing your relationship with alcohol, but really about discovering yourself and really about building a life you really, really love. And that's where emotional self-regulation is really important. As I was saying earlier, is we literally were evolved and had been designed, our human brain has been designed to look out for threats all the time. There are literally parts of our brain right now, our brainstem and our mammalian type of our brain, that literally we share with reptiles. And if you've ever seen like a lizard, like a little lizard, like in your backyard or something, like it will dart its little head and look around and scurry around. I mean, I can't even imagine what its brain is doing, but it's always like safe, not safe, safe, not safe, right? Like it really has this two-dimensional way of looking at things. And I just want you to remember our human brains have evolved to think the same way. And so when our modern era comes around and, you know, we're worried that maybe our boss doesn't appreciate our work, or we're worried that our spouse is not doing enough around the home, or we're worried about gas prices going up, or we're worried about, you know, maybe not being able to figure out a relationship with alcohol, these are threatening our literal instinct to survive. And that's why our brain reacts the way it does and has a lot of cascade of negative thoughts in order to try to solve the situation. So this statistic has always just floored me, but basically we have around 60,000 thoughts every single day. 60,000 unique different thoughts, right? So 60,000 different thoughts go in and out of your brain every single day. Now here's the thing. 95% of those thoughts are actually repetitive thoughts. So that means 95% of the thoughts that you think today, you probably thought the day before and the day before. And now here's another kicker. Around 80% of all of your thoughts are negative. So what that tells me is that every single day we fall into the same patterns of thinking and we repeat our thoughts, and most of them are negative. And that's why I'm so obsessed with personal development and thought work. Thought work is this idea where you actually can intentionally choose your thoughts. Maybe not 100% of the time, but you know how to catch yourself. You know what to do. You know how to turn around negative thoughts into more positive, or at least more gentle thoughts, right? And I think it's really important to do thought work in combination with emotional self-regulation, because if we don't, we're literally going to be really anxious. We're going to be very worried all the time. We're going to just be unhappy people. And emotional self-regulation is this idea that, the world is always happening around you. There's always bad stuff happening in the world. I mean, this year alone, hopefully I pray that like you and your families are safe, but like this year alone, there's just been so much chaos already in our world, so much fear, so many things going on. Some of it is affecting us in distant ways, and some of it is affecting us like literally viscerally right here. And it is our human brain to get so scared, so worried. It is our human brain to have anxiety, even if it's just anxiety about your normal life, like something is going on at work, or something is going on in the home, or you just want to, progress further and further and have more success, but there's always something to be worried about. There's always something to be anxious about. And I think anxiety is when you're the type of person who's always looking out to the future and really kind of ruminating on it, really asking yourself like, oh, what's going to happen if this or this, will this happen? I hope that, you're not like in the present moment. Whereas depression is more characterized as someone who looks into the past and is always really regretful about what the past could have been, but wasn't, And so our human brain, like I was saying earlier, has really been designed to have these negative thoughts, has been designed to just think of how it's going to survive and always be looking out for threats. So our brain is always going to find things that are wrong. So literally, like right now, I could write a book about everything that's wrong in the world, and you probably could too, right? Like if we really wanted to find all the things that were wrong with the world, we could find a zillion things. However, couldn't you also write a book about everything that's going well with the world or your life? Couldn't you also write a book about that? And it's the thing that is so incredible is our brain gets so much stimulus every single day. It's like 11 million bits of information. And 11 million bits of information cascade to our brain every day. And our brain can only decipher about 40 to 50 bits of information at a time. So what our brain does, it actually ignores most of what is being presented to us as stimulus, and it only captures and processes about 40 to 50 bits of information. Crazy, right? Because you could be looking at the same thing and pick up something different than the same person looking at that same thing, right? And that's the important thing about emotional self-regulation and thought work, is that you can also choose to focus on what is pleasing to you, what makes you happy, what makes you feel powerful and thriving, or you could choose to focus on the things that make you feel negative, that make you feel like you're powerless, that make you feel like you are helpless in a certain situation. And now all of these things are really important with thought work, which is something I teach really intensively with my clients and in my programs. But emotional self-regulation takes it even further, because all of the stress, all of the fear that's coming into your life, whether it's real or not, it all lives in your body. And your body stores that shit. Our bodies, emotions are actually a response to stress hormones in our bodies, and it's literally hormones circulating through our bodies. We think about our emotions after that, and we create and give them meaning, right? We interpret them, we might dwell on them more, but emotions are actually physical responses in the body before they are something that you think about. And when we are feeling anxious all the time, or we're feeling fearful of whatever it is, will I be paid enough next month? Or will my husband and I be able to travel this summer? It doesn't have to be life or death stuff. It's just the things that we worry about. Is my cat going to be okay? She was throwing up a lot last night. All the little things that we worry about in life. It really gives our body the fight or flight response. And it seriously gives off the same kind of stress hormones in our body as if our life was under threat. And that's the thing about psychological safety, is most of our needs are being met basically in our modern era. We all have almost shelter, we have food to eat, we have all these things that actually would have made our ancestors feel very psychologically safe. But anytime we have any anxious thought or worry, we are bringing us back into that sense of psychological unsafety and unsecureness. And let me just give you an example. So I'm going to just do this hypothetical person that I know in real life, and let's call her Mary. Now, Mary is worried about everything. Mary is really, really caught up in the prices of everything. She's always worried about the gas prices and the prices on different products out in the world. Mary is hyper vigilant and just always really stressed out about taking care of her family and is worried about, making sure that ends meet, even though they meet pretty well all the time. Mary always chooses to focus on the things that are negative and are out of control instead of seeing things that are really small. Everything is blown up for her, right? Like a problem that most of us can face and is normal to face in life. She makes it seem like the world is ending, right? Like that's Mary. And the way that we can respond to not be like Mary is to understand that we need to emotionally self-regulate when we are in times of stress. And stress could be literally real stress that is coming to you, or it could be the made-up stuff our brain does to us. And those emotions and that stress is all living in your body. And until you process it through your body, you're not going to find that peace and calm and resolution to feel hopeful and positive to move forward. So how does one process stress in the body? I mean, you came to this TED Talk, I guess. Thank you for coming. I called it, What is Emotional Self-Regulation? And emotional self-regulation is really allowing yourself to intentionally hold, receive, and then process your emotions instead of just reacting to them. Because emotions, like I said, they are lived responses in their body. There's these stress hormones that come out. I was speaking with a neuroscientist or a neuroanatomist a few months ago for my podcast, and she actually said an emotion actually only lasts in your body for only 90 seconds. That's the biology of an emotion. It lasts in your body for 90 seconds. Now, obviously, when you feel stressed, it feels like it's much longer than 90 seconds. So what happens is we interpret that feeling, and that once we interpret, we start thinking about it. Once we start thinking about it, we start ruminating on it and giving it meaning and interpreting it. And so that's why emotion feels like it lasts a lot longer, because we then give it a lot more meaning or some kind of focus or some kind of slant, some kind of interpretation. So when you feel anxious, but the story you're telling yourself is, well, of course, I'm not good enough. I'm never going to get the promotion I want to get. Everyone else has it figured out but me. You're telling yourself a story, and that story lives beyond just the emotional response in the body. And so it's really, I think, important as we change our relationship with alcohol, or as we just want to become happier people, is to understand this idea both of thought work and emotionally self-regulating. And that's exactly what I'm going to teach in my program, Dry Boot Camp. So Dry Boot Camp not only is a chance to take a break from alcohol for 22 days, but it's really to hone in on and discover on the emotional regulation techniques that are really going to make you feel happier, more calm, less stressed out, less prone to worry and anxiety. And in the emotional regulation techniques I choose, it's very unique to most people, but it really comes down to these ancient practices that literally have been around for a long time that really ground us back into the natural elements of the world, right? So for example, water therapy. You probably never heard that word, water therapy. What the heck is that? It's anytime we use the power of water to soothe ourselves. Now, you probably do it already. You probably understand that when you have a stressful day, taking a nice hot bath or taking a nice hot shower can help you relieve some of that stress. Now, this isn't just made up stuff. It's not just some placebo effect. There actually is a biological reason why, right? Same thing with even a cold shower or a cold plunge. It changes our neurochemistry in our brain and the stress, the hormones that are being released at that time. So it will change your emotional response to whatever's going on. So if you're super anxious and you're just having a really stressful day, but then you do a cold plunge, you're literally helping process and detoxify all of those emotional responses from your body, and then encouraging your body to produce new hormones and new neurotransmitters that will make you feel better, right? That's the whole point of this idea of emotional self-regulation, is there's these routines that you can embody that actually help you process these things through your body and through your emotions. So water therapy is a really good one because it is accessible to all of us, right? We can all just hop in the shower anytime we need to usually, and use it as a way to calm ourselves down literally, and to use it as a time to de-stress from the day. Whether you're dealing with wanting to take a break from alcohol and you have a craving, for example, I will always tell my clients that actually was their idea. Just go take a shower. You'll feel so much better afterwards, and you won't want to feel that urge and that direct reflex just as much. Now, there's so many other ways that we can emotionally self-regulate. And you might not be like, I don't know about showering, Carolina. That doesn't work for me. But I like to teach a multitude of ways that find you in like a very unique position that you get to choose which one's going to work with you, and kind of trying them by just trial and error about what works with for you. Another really good one is breath work, for example. So breath work is this idea that we intentionally breathe to a certain pattern for a certain amount of time. Now, when it comes to breathing and oxygen, oxygen is our number one nutrient. If you think about it, you can survive without food for like 2 or 3 weeks. You can out survive for 2 minutes without oxygen, right? It is literally our number one nutrient. And yet we are very shallow breathers. Most people breathe only through their lungs, which doesn't actually fill your entire body with the oxygen you need. And as we get very anxious and stressed out in our days, we get even more shallow of breath. Now, most of the reason why we want to actually reach for a drink is not the drink itself. It's the feeling we believe a drink will give us. So if we believe a drink will relieve our stress, or we believe a drink will help us unwind, or we believe a drink will help us change the repetitive, incessant thoughts that we have that are stressing us out, then that's why we reach for it, right? And breathwork is really cool because breathwork also changes the state of your brain. If you sit and do a breathing pattern, and I don't just mean breathing in and out, like breathwork can be really intense. You breathe all the way down into your diaphragm, and there's certain patterns of breathing that can really, really pump up the amount of oxygen you're getting. You could literally feel high after doing breath work, right? You could feel high, you could feel tingly. It can really, really change your body. There are certain breathwork exercises that they say you should not do this while you're driving. You should not do this like if you're not sitting down. Like it's that intense. It changes the state of your brain. But can you imagine what that flood of oxygen and really allowing all that oxygen to flood through your blood vessels will do for your feelings? You will feel so much relief to whatever was stressing you out, because whatever was stressing you out not only can be processed with thought work, but it can also be processed through the body. And our body is so good at that. I mean, our body needs it. I don't know that we're that good at it, right? We haven't really learned these tools and techniques. And so I like to teach some breath work in my programs and just these really simple breathing patterns that literally can make you feel high and change the state of your brain within just a minute of doing them. But that's just another example that I'm sharing with you today about how you can emotionally self-regulate and actually process your emotions through your body. Now, there's this really interesting example I want to share. Like when a zebra, for example, is getting chased by a lion, it's very stressful, right? Like her life is on the cutting block. When a zebra is getting chased by a lion and say she escapes the lion and survives, that's a lot of stress. Like she must have so much adrenaline running through her body at that moment, so much fear. She almost just died, right? What a zebra will do in the wild is that they will actually take a moment to shake it all off. They will it's like a dance almost that they do to shake their body violently, to shake off all of those stress hormones that were just produced in that response to trying to evade that lion. After she shakes it off, she'll go take a nap because she was pretty tired after what she all did. Now, us humans don't do anything like that. We just let emotions get stored in our body, and we don't have any sense of emotional self-regulation. We just carry on through, and we're just super overproductive. And then obviously something like drinking comes in because it seems like the only solution to deal with those pent-up emotions. Your emotions are meant to be processed. That's what self-regulation is. And you're not meant to be carried away with every single emotion that you experience. We need to be able to almost detach from our bodies and our brains sometimes and look at it from a different perspective and see that, yes, my physical self needs to be taken care of. My physical self needs to process these emotions. I need to be able to shake it off, do some water therapy, do some breath work, or any of the other multiple rituals that I teach in order to process this emotion through my body. And I need to understand that my life and the world isn't crumbling around me, even though that's the story I'm telling myself, right? Like we always make it, whatever it is, we always make it into a mountain. Like, okay, my cat is sick and so, oh my gosh, she might die. But if she dies, like we're not going to be able to do this big trip. And then, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to see my grandma this year. Like we catastrophize. We keep going on this thread much, much further. Or maybe you're trying to launch a business and it's like, nobody's listening to me. Nobody's liking my photos. Like nobody cares about me. I'm never going to make sales. I'm never going to get off, right? We spiral. And spiraling is something that is very easy for a human to do if they're not introduced to really allowing themselves to emotionally either self-regulate and do thought work. Suffice it to say, I'm pretty obsessed with this stuff because it can make a huge difference in how you feel on a day-to-day basis. And this is a huge core of what I'm going to teach in the Dry Boot Camp program. So if you're not familiar, Dry Boot Camp is a 22-day experience. It starts on April 4th. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a break from alcohol together. But instead of just doing a challenge to not drink for 22 days, we are really going to focus on the core reasons why we drink. There's 3 core reasons that are presented in the topic with kind of multi-layer themes in each. And with these 3 core reasons, we're going to actually learn how alcohol is not really serving that need, what it's really doing to the body, and then learning these techniques to actually take care of our emotional needs in healthy ways that work. I have worked with a lot of clients. I've done a lot of modalities. I've taken what works with them. I've taken what works for me. I've taken what I've seen and I've learned from other teachers and other people that I've learned from. And we've really created a holistic program in order to not only change how you see alcohol, change how you do alcohol, but then take care of your emotional needs in a new way. And I think it's going to be a really implementable, doable experience because part of the action steps in each week are to practice the new skill that you learned. It might not be super overwhelming. You don't have to practice all 10 things that you learn, but maybe you take one and you actually try this new breathwork exercise, or you try shaking it off, or you try the water therapy. And so I'm super excited about this program because it's not about just what you remove. We need to understand that when we reach for a glass of alcohol, we are just trying to appease our emotions in the quickest and simplest way we think we know how. When you're really stressed out from a day, or you're like on a Friday high and you just want to have more excitement and celebrate your day, these are all responses to our world. And we need to learn ways to actually honor those emotions or process them instead of just using a drink to fast forward into this feeling that we think it's going to give us. And so it's really what I teach in Dry Boot Camp is to change not only how you see alcohol in that moment, but give yourself a whole slew of new tools and embodiment practices to actually process these emotions through the body and get to that state of calm or happiness or excitement that you're looking for. Because that's what we're all looking for, right? When we're stressed, we want to feel calm and peaceful. When we want some excitement in our life or some stimulation, we want to feel a sense of fun, a sense of exploration, a sense of adventure. I think for most of us, we don't actually honor that feeling and give ourselves more of that stimulation. And so there's going to be exercises in Dry Boot Camp to help you do that. So I would like to say I am super excited about the program. I cannot wait to join. We're already filling many spots. And if you're interested in joining, we are starting really soon. When you join, you're not only going to get the 3-week program that really goes over these core emotional needs and, why we drink and how to change taking care of your emotional needs in new ways. We're going to do a community immersion experience. And there's actually 5 live calls where you can get coaching from me to learn how to manage some of these emotions, some of these thoughts, to ask questions, to get your challenges solved, and to really form community. So we have 5 live calls together during that 3-week period. It's super immersive. And in addition to that, we'll also be in a community off Facebook, because even though Facebook is great, there's obviously some challenges and some flaws with it. I really want to build an intimate community that's solid for building connections, not just all of the distractions we get through Facebook. So it's going to be off Facebook. And if you're looking for a community, if you're looking for the accountability, if you're looking to really maybe meet your new next accountability buddy, or really learn these tools that just are literally not taught to us as humans, we as modern humans do not master this at all. Most of us are just swimming in dirty negative thoughts all the time. And then those emotions are getting stuck in our body. And that's called the modern human. So there's nothing wrong with you for having negative thoughts or being prone to worry or doubt or fear. It's how our brain was programmed. But we were not ever taught how to do this kind of stuff. And you can be happier. You can have freedom from alcohol. You can have so much. And I like to also share too, a 22-day break from alcohol can be life-changing. My first 22 days without alcohol, I fell in love with a new way of being. I felt so happy. I felt like I could sleep so much better. I was proud of myself every day. I was journaling every night. I was starting to do a morning routine in the morning. I was working out more, but not like this crazy boot camp workout. I was just hiking more. It was really just feeling my feelings and going through the motions of life with a state of so much more calm and happiness instead of just trying to nudge down the bad feelings with the drink or trying to always find a happier moment with the drink. It was as if I could finally just breathe and be on my own. My skin improved in those 22 days. I lost some weight in 22 days. Like, it's incredible what can happen that fast. And there's even studies that show that you could lower your blood cholesterol, your blood pressure, your liver fat, your brain matter can grow in that amount of time. It really is remarkable. And imagine if those 22 days, like, you actually left the program not desiring alcohol as much, because now when you're stressed, you have something that you like to do much better. Imagine if that was the gift you got it. And whether you choose to go alcohol free after the program or you want to go back to drinking, imagine that you don't feel like you need to drink in all these different situations. It's only like once every 2 months. Wouldn't that be ideal? So wherever you choose to go, obviously I choose alcohol free. You're going to have a path forward after dry boot camp so that you're not relying on alcohol to meet your emotional needs anymore. You've learned the tools of how to meet them. Whether you want to feel like calm after a stressful day, or whether you want to feel some excitement in your life, or also what to do with socializing. That's the whole part of week 3 in our program, is this whole thing of like, maybe I could learn to not drink at home, but how am I going to deal with social life, right? And that's a really big one that we teach, because both socializing carries so much needs in it within our need to belong, our need to be accepted, our need to fit in, our need not to ruffle feathers, our need to also feel very confident and maybe ease our social nerves. So socializing is a huge aspect when it comes to changing your relationship with alcohol, and there are core human needs there that you also have to meet. So I would love for you to join. It is a 3-week intensive community immersion experience. Spots are filling. I think I would love to extend the invitation for you to join. We start on April 4th, but I wouldn't wait until April 4th to join. Like, once you get in right now, you're going to get a curated shopping list so you can start preparing for the program. You're going to start getting set up. And I love the Latin word, the definition of the word decide. Decide literally means to cut off other options. You decide, and you don't negate on that decision. You're just like, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a 22-day break from alcohol. I'm going to really learn how to master my emotional needs during that time. I'm going to learn about myself. Like, when you remove alcohol, you do sit with those emotions and you learn so much about yourself. What if there's so many pent-up desires that you have that are just not being even articulated because there's always something masking them? Imagine what you could learn, and imagine so many places that you could grow and really push yourself. I mean, I have such incredible client testimonials and transformations because my clients have gone on to go after their deeper desires in this planet, whether it's writing a book themselves or becoming a coach or launching a business or moving somewhere beautiful. Our desires are meant to be met. But if we're always numbing ourselves, we're never going to know what those true desires are, and we're going to feel unfulfilled at the end of the day with the life we have. We have to honor our desires and really honor our need to evolve and to grow and to go after new things and have something that stimulates us in our life, whatever that is. We need passion projects. We need passion and purpose. And so that's a lot to cover, obviously. But the 22-day boot camp is a really great start to just learn how to master your emotional needs, take a break from alcohol, and lose the allure that alcohol has over in your life, because you're going to start to understand subconsciously, hey, oh my gosh, it's actually not meeting any of these needs. This is what my survival brain wants, and alcohol is not doing it a favor. And so you're going to learn that instinctually so that it really starts to chip away at the desire. So like I said, you can enroll at euphoricaf.com/drybootcamp. I have the link all over my website, so be sure to join. We would love to have you. It is a really low cost program. It's super accessible. It's 3 times less than the cost of an average drinking habit each month. Like, literally, if you're like, I don't know about that, like, you just have to